this team is struggling. We're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and their quarterback, Carson Wentz, out of North Dakota State. So, let's look at why I believe the Eagles may be wanting to at least temporarily give up on Carson Wentz. I'm not sure that, if he underperforms in this week or next week, they're going to be like, well, he's lost his starting spot for the rest of the year. No, I don't think that. But I think they're willing to give other guys a shot if he doesn't do too well. And let's look at why. Why has this guy who was seen as an MVP candidate a few years ago dropped to the status of being seen as one of the worst performing quarterbacks in the league? Let's start off with his stats so far this year. He has a 58.8% completion percentage. Now, anything below 60 is seen as inaccurate. You cannot throw the football accurately. And last year you could blame it a lot on his receivers when he was missing passes, but this year, it's just been bad throws. He's made a lot of mistakes. And speaking of mistakes, he's thrown 4 interceptions and only 2 touchdowns, leading to a quarterback rating of 64.4. That's pretty terrible. You look at the stats around the league, and you're going to find a lot of guys who are doing better than that. Daniel Jones of the New York Giants is doing better than that, A guy who is looked at as a lower tier quarterback is going to be seen as doing better than this guy who is seen as, going into this year, a top 10 quarterback probably. And now he's performing like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. It's really sad to see, honestly. And I'm not a Carson Wentz hater. I'd like to preface this by saying that I love Carson Wentz. I was cheering for the guy. It hurts for me to see him underperform. But we have to face the facts. This show, it's not just all my opinions, right? I'm basing everything in actual evidence, things that I can see, things that I watch, things that can be tracked with statistics, right? This is all factually based. And Carson Wentz, statistically, is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And his team, the Philadelphia Eagles, have not been performing that well either. They've lost both their games. In the first week, they lost to the Washington football team. And while you can look at that team and be like, they're great defensively, They have Chase Young, they have Montez Sweat, they have Ioannidis, they have guys like that. They have a scary defense that a lot of teams are going to have to worry about. But this team, especially Carson Wentz, in his first game of the season, needing to prove something, just did not put up the performance we were expecting. And he actually underperformed what people were expecting, even with this Washington defense that people knew was going to be pretty good right off the bat. And the Eagles in general just did not play that well. Their defense let up points to Terry McLaurin and Dwayne Haskins and the the Washington football team's offense. My bad. They also lost to the Los Angeles Rams in Week 2. And I like the Rams. You're going to see later on. I really like the Rams. But, it wasn't a great loss. It wasn't a loss where they looked competitive against a great team. They looked like they were a bottom feeder losing to a great team. It wasn't great. And Carson Wentz underperformed again against a Rams defense that, they have Jalen Ramsey. They have a bunch of guys, a lot of pay, a lot of paid guys. A lot of guys who are paid a lot. So they're seen as really good. But, even the Cowboys kind of put up a better performance than the Eagles and against this Rams team. And I just, I haven't been convinced. I haven't been convinced by watching Carson Wentz these last 2 weeks. And that's not a good thing. He has a large injury history, right? I mean, we've seen this guy go down time after time. Season after season, I swear every season I see at some point a notification pop up on my phone, Carson Wentz out for so-and-so amount of weeks, out for season. He's done. He tore his ACL. He, fractured his tibia. I don't know, whatever, right? He's injured a lot. And we've seen that pretty much every year. And so there's not a lot of trust in the first place between the Eagles and Carson Wentz. They don't trust him to get through a full season at this point, and I wouldn't either if I was the GM of the Eagles. I wouldn't, seeing what he's done. And even when he's fully healthy this season, both of the other high-profile QBs from his draft class, Jared Goff and Dak Prescott, they've both been performing better than him this season so far. And that's bad to see, because people lauded Carson Wentz as the highest guy to look at. He's the best quarterback coming out of that draft class by far. He's a top 10 quarterback in the league. Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott are both overrated. They're both on garbage teams. I've heard people say that before, and people don't believe in Dak, and people don't believe in Jared, but people believe in Carson Wentz, and he's taken that belief and he's crushed it so far. It's not great. And so it's bad to see him underperforming stats-wise compared to those two guys and team record-wise, because both of those teams are doing better than his Eagles. Now, how have the Eagles shown this mistrust towards Wentz? This year, in the 2020 NFL Draft, they took a guy with I'd say, high ceiling in Jalen Hurts. Now, let me explain that. A lot of people look at Jalen Hurts and they say, this guy, he's not good. He's not NFL ready. And I would agree. He's not exactly NFL ready yet, from what I've seen on the tape, in college. I don't think he's NFL ready just yet. But he has a high ceiling. I think he has high potential. He has the raw talent. And they took that guy in the draft out of Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts. I think it's because they're looking at giving another guy a chance. Maybe it's because they thought Carson Wentz was going to get injured, or maybe they even, thought Carson Wentz was going to underperform, and if they did, they would have been right. Jalen Hurts, he might see the field at some point soon, and we just have to accept that, because the Eagles might look to replace him if he has another bad few performances, to the point where, our record's already bad anyways, and you're not playing well, so why not give another guy a chance? Why not give Jalen Hurts a chance to get into the game, and see what impact he has on the offense? It's worth trying at this point, And so let's look at what Carson Wentz can do to save his image. This week, the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Cincinnati Bengals and their quarterback, Joe Burrow, out of LSU. Now, I think this is a pivotal game with huge ramifications on the Eagles and Carson Wentz. I think if Joe Burrow outperforms Wentz and the Bengals win this game, I think the Eagles are going to be looking at Wentz and they're going to say, hey, I know you've been good in the past, but so far you haven't shown me anything, and we're going to have to look at giving another guy a shot in this offense. Maybe they bench him for a week, and they put in, if he's healthy, Jalen Hurts or Nate Sudfeld. Maybe they look at other options. Because so far, it's just been a net negative for Wentz. And so I think this week is going to be a big thing. If he comes out and he slings that football, he has 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, good completion percentage, then I think he's safe temporarily. Because that at least shows us that we know he has that potential this year to do something. He's inconsistent right now, but no preseason, just the OTAs. Maybe he's just getting into this season a little slow. And this is something weird from Wentz, right? Because we saw him in the 2017 season, right? He almost had the MVP award before getting injured in Week 16. I believe that award went to Tom Brady, I want to say, that year, the MVP. And Wentz was very close. He was the front runner to win that award. And he played amazingly. He led this Eagles team to a lot of wins. And they were one of the best teams in the league. They ended up winning the Super Bowl that year with Nick Foles, but Wentz was really just that guy for them that whole year. And I don't know if they played with Nick Foles for the whole year, if they end up winning that Super Bowl. So it's interesting to think about, right? He played so greatly, but the real question is, can he recapture that same magic that he had in that MVP season? Can he put it together one more time? Can he really, have that kind of MVP-esque season? And so far, I think he's out of, any kind of award race right now. But I think he could come back and have a good season. He had a rough few first weeks, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for now. I'm really going to be having three eyes locked in on that Bengals-Eagles game this weekend, and we really will get a chance to see if Wentz is the real deal. So that's all I have about Carson Wentz and the Eagles.